Hello, everybody, and welcome to Jillian today. She's going to talk to us a little bit about Allschool and teaching and just tell everybody about her expertise. Welcome, Jillian. How are you?
Good. I'm doing pretty good. Thank you for having me today.
Well, thank you for joining us. So, for those people who don't know who you are, you've got a YouTube channel, you've got several Facebook groups, several other things going on as far as coaching and everything like that. Can you just kind of give people a little rundown of who you are?
Okay. So, first and foremost, I'm an online teacher, just like everybody that is watching this either already is or is, aspiring to be. So, before anything else, I'm an online English teacher. And I started teaching back in 2018 with Palefish, became a mentor, was working with a couple of different companies. I've tried out a couple of different companies. Figured out what I liked and didn't like, and then eventually moved over to growing my own independent business. And um, when the infamous double reduction policy came about, I had been coaching for a long time before that, but when the double reduction policy came out, I really stepped up the coaching, opened up an academy for teachers who wanted to go independent, and started helping teachers more through coaching, YouTube videos, the Facebook group, which now has, what does it have now? We're at over 25,000 members in our Facebook group, the Online ESL Teacher Success and Support Group. So, what I strive to do is to just really help teachers, no matter where they are in their business, learn the skills so that they can get to the next step. And a lot of these skills are they work whether you're working for a company or you're working completely independent. There's different marketing skills that you can use for both of them. So I guess that's who I am in a nutshell.
That's a good nutshell. So how did you get your start teaching?
Well, I was not a teacher before that. I was in the military, and then when I got out of the Navy, I um, I did a couple of odd jobs here and there, but then I worked for the post office, the United States Postal Service. And I became pregnant with my third daughter while I was working for the post office. Had to go on unpaid maternity leave because in the US we do not get maternity benefits for or maternity leave for federal employees. So, just a side note, if you're a father and you're working at McDonald's, you get paternity leave, but if you are a federal worker, you don't get maternity leave.
That's so
Um,
crazy.
yeah, so while I was on maternity leave, unpaid, um, from my federal job, I really had to take a step back and decide, like, what did I want to do? And I started asking everybody, like all the other moms, because I was essentially a single mom. My husband had some uh, drug addiction issues, and he was battling those, and it got to the point, and my ex-husband I should say, it got to the point where it was I mean, it was just me, it was me carrying him, it was me, supporting my kids. And I was like, I can't do this and work the post office hours. I can't go back to the post office. I have to figure something out. So for those of you who don't know, um, a postal worker in the United States, they work 7 days a week. They do not have days off for like sometimes 3 months on end, and the hours are, can be 12, 13-hour days. So to have federal labor laws do not apply to federal employees. So basically, what would happen is, like, after 3 months of not getting a day off, you would be able to file a grievance with the union, and then the union would try to get you a day off. And for all of that, it sometimes wasn't even worth it just to get a day off. Um, and I was like, okay, well, this is not compatible with the life that I have, with the responsibilities that I have. So I have to find something else. So I started asking at my kids' and my children's, like, extracurricular activities, so like ballet, 4-H, um, gymnastics, Girl Scouts, like all the things that my kids were into. I started asking them, the other moms, like, what do you do? And it seemed that everybody that was like able to provide, and they wasn't a stay-at-home mom, they were working in the school district in some capacity because that's compatible with being a mother. So lunch lady, paraprofessional teacher, school psychologist, bus driver, like everybody was working in the school district. And I'm like, okay, well, to me, that seems like something that I could do. Like I'm good with kids. Um, I'm good at teaching things. I feel like this would be a good job for me. So I went back and decided I was going to get my master's degree in elementary education, and I posted it on Facebook. One of my Facebook friends just happened to be a VIP kid teacher, and they were looking for that recruiting money, and they recruited me into VIP kid. I thought for sure that it was a garbage job. I had tried the transcription job. I've done like MLMs before. I've tried different things that were work from home, and nothing ever really panned out to being something that you could actually make a living off of without I mean, I don't want to like knock down MLMs, but I think we all know that there's a certain kind of person that can make it there, and it requires a lot of like recruiting, and I don't want to recruit, I just want to work. So um, I uh, was like, okay, I'll give it a shot. Had absolutely no faith in it, did not believe in it whatsoever. Immediately started getting bookings, here and there. They were trickling in. It wasn't a ton of bookings. But when you're new on a platform, they usually like your first like couple weeks, they'll give you more classes just to like keep you around, right? For a lot of these places. So I started getting bookings and I was like, okay, I'm actually making money. And this isn't like transcription money where it's like pennies. It's actually like money. So
Right.
um this is an app that I'm using. I wonder if there's other apps. So I just went on like the Apple store, found the Palfish app. I was like, I'll try this one too. Um, Fast forward to a year later. So that was December of 2018 that I started working for these companies. And December of 2019, I put a bid in on a house. So I had paid off a ton, an astronomical amount of debt, was supporting myself, paid off my house, or I'm sorry, not paid off my house, paid off a lot of bills. Closed on my house February of 2020. So I went from, I mean, I was essentially a single mom. Um, and I was taking care of my sick partner, and I was taking care of my kids, and I was doing all of this working from home, working off of an app. I'm like, okay, there's something to this. I have to show other people how to do this. Um, and I stepped up, well, actually, a couple months in, I stepped up to Palfish to be a mentor. Started like helping people and coaching people. It just kind of came naturally to me. I was like, I want to do this. I want to help people do this because this is really cool. That like this is legit. And I figured that I was going to go into it and learn as much as I possibly could about everything, because it's not just cut and dry. It's not just sign on and figure it out and just um have mediocre bookings. I wanted to change my life with this job. I wanted to hit all of the possibilities that I could. So yeah, it's been, and then that summer, so I bought the house in 2020, February 2020. I think in August of 2020, I was able to pay to put my husband through rehab, my ex-husband through rehab, even though we weren't together. Like that's not something that most single moms can do. Like buy a house and then put
Sure.
somebody through rehab and take care. Like I just look back at it and I'm like, this is it's crazy. And then even since then, I've like started my own like you know like homestead, and it's just been I've been able to literally craft the lifestyle that I want. It's really cool.
So much power to you. My gosh.
Yeah.
You're
When I say
it's
it out loud, when I say it out loud, it's like, whoa, okay, like I'll like to me, it's just become something that I do. Like, but then when I say it out loud to people and I like see their reactions, like, like, wait, you did this, like, and I'm
like
like,
a
okay, wait,
it's like a lifetime story, lifetime movie story. You,
No, 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 no,
you,
no, no. Those
you
always
should
have
craft it.
tragic things in it. Those always have tragic things
Well, they'll start off with a low, move up to a high. Whatever.
in
You're on the high point right now, it sounds like. But but that's awesome. And part of the whole summit is I want to really try to show people the inspiration, those that are new, that are trying to get into this, those that have been jaded by some of the things that have happened in the past with it, and just those that are kind of going through the motions right now, and see what we can make happen and give some people some inspiration. So you've kind of moved from teaching to mentoring at this new level that you're at now, to this new level of mentorship. So can you tell us a little bit about that?
About Independent Teacher Academy.
Yes.
It's so cool. So it's my baby. Independent Teacher Academy started because a lot of people were asking me actually that's how my YouTube channel started too, but a lot of people would ask the same questions like help me do this. And I would realize in talking to teachers that uh the very, very, very simple, basic fundamentals, what I feel is simple and basic, the simple and basic fundamentals that um I've been doing for so long that it just comes naturally. A lot of beginning teachers, well, basically all beginning teachers, um, don't know. And the majority of experienced teachers don't know because people are coming into this as teachers, not business professionals, not entrepreneurs. So a lot of teachers would come to me and they'd be like, okay, for example, who do you teach? What is your niche? And teachers will say like, oh, well, I teach ESL to like, anybody that wants to learn ESL. And one of the basic fundamentals that you have to have a successful business is you have to have a very, very, very narrowed down specific niche. If you're going to go independent or if you're working for a marketplace, you really need to know who you're teaching, why they want that, how you can help them, how you can bridge that gap. And a lot of people, it takes, it takes a lot to know that. That's just one of the first fundamentals. Um, but when teachers are going into this, they're teachers. They learned how to, a lot of times they learned how to teach cookie cutter lessons from Palefish and, Go-Go Kid or Cube Kids or VIP Kid, wherever they came from. A lot of these teachers came from these Chinese companies where they would, open up a slide and read the teacher's guidance on the bottom that told them how to teach. They learned how to teach that way, but they don't know differentiated instruction. They don't know how to market themselves. They don't know how to find students. They don't know how to use Chinese social media. Or a lot of teachers don't even know that you don't have to be teaching in China. Like
Right.
there's a million things that you can teach everywhere. And you don't have to teach from slides. And if you do want to teach from slides, there's a lot out there. So there's a lot of like puzzle pieces that have to go together. And um, Independent Teacher Academy really just helps teachers put all those together. So there are two components to it. And the first one is just basic like on-demand training. So it's starting to turn like a little Netflix of training. So if you want to learn how to grow your email list, there's a course for that. If you want to learn how to do email marketing, there's a course for that. If you want to learn how to use WeChat, there's a course, Instagram course, Facebook course, like all those little things, like, right. So kind of like a little Netflix of, what do I want to learn? What do I want to improve on? And then the other component, which is my favorite component, is the group coaching sessions, which are phenomenal because every week, twice a week, we meet together as a group. And if you can't make it, they're live streamed into our private Facebook group for ITA. And we talk about like what we're working on. And I help teachers figure out exactly what their next specific steps are. A lot of the courses that are out there, whether it be for there's not a lot for teachers, but whether it be for teachers or whether it be for like YouTube or email lists or whatever, a lot of the coaches will tell you there's only one way to do things. You have to do it my way or it's not going to work. This is the only way. And I have learned that that is not true. Everybody is going to be a little bit different, and it's really focusing on helping teachers find their way that works for them, that is going to help them reach their specific goals, whether it's growing your company, like starting your company, growing your company and hiring new teachers on, or getting more bookings at a company like Outschool or Allschool. Maybe you don't want to own your own company and that's okay. Or maybe it's like just starting fresh and, you know, getting your social medias running so that you can attract new students, or, you know, starting group lessons or whatever it might be that's going to help you go to your specific level.
It's awesome. Yeah, there's not cookie cutters. It's not like there's an algorithm out there that you have to meet and match and make work for you, because you are all individual, right?
Right. And it really differs too. So if you're marketing to Chinese students, then it's going to be a different strategy than if you're marketing to students that are in Puerto Rico or Canada or Australia or Germany or, you know, Saudi Arabia. Like different things work for different people. If you're marketing to um, parents, it's going to be a little bit different than if you're marketing to business professionals versus, you know, maybe you're doing like little kids stuff or, you know, teenager stuff. Like everything is a little bit different based on what you're doing, you know. And we don't just have, it's really cool. We don't just have in Independent Teacher Academy people who are just teaching English. We have somebody in there who is actually teaching like Bible studies. Um, we have somebody in there who has expanded her English business to hire on a French teacher because she's, you know, her market is in Canada, and a lot of people want to learn French too. So it's, you know, it's kind of gotten a diverse group there.
It's awesome. Yeah, because that's one thing I've noticed as well, is there's so many different areas of education, so many different things you can teach online now. And your business is going to be what makes what you're good at, your niche, as you mentioned. So like
Hmm.
I do English teaching. And that's what I do because what I know the best. And I mean, I've worked with people on websites as well, but again, you drill down on your specialties, and if you do that, I think you're going to be successful in teaching online. What are your specialties?
So my specialties are writing. So I teach writing skills. I do not market it as an ESL class. I will talk about ESL like when I'm doing my WeChat marketing, but I don't market it as an ESL class. It's a combined lesson. So it because I have learned that teaching writing skills enhances your speaking skills in English and your reading skills in English. So my main source of income comes from creative writing lessons with around the third grade level. There are other classes. I do have some pre-K lessons, like some circle time kind of stuff. I like to do those first thing in the morning to get me like awake. But my main thing is writing lessons to students who are having struggling writing, don't like writing. Um, they could care less and they don't want to touch writing at all. So I turn um,
Mom, you just find it patent.
third graders into third graders who absolutely hate writing, get them to be avid writers who love writing and write for fun. And it's really cool to see that transformation.
That that would be cool. Are your students US based, China based, all over based?
I kind of have two groups of students. So I have my private students and then I have my all school students. And they're all over. They're all over. Um, I do a lot. I have a lot of Chinese students, um, and I've got some students in Puerto Rico and some students in California and some students in New York, Australia, Africa, South America. But the majority of my students are in China right now because that's the really cool thing about this job is you can choose the hours you want to work. And for me, I prefer to work before my little ones wake up so that I don't have interruptions and I don't have to, be relying on the TV to you know,
Oh yeah,
watch my kid.
that's part of why we do this as parents. You want to spend time with your kid, you want to raise your kid, so you want to
Yeah.
be there.
And I
That's
pulled
one
her
of
out of
mine.
daycare. I was at one point in time teaching, and um, I had her in daycare, which cost $1,100 a month. I was working full time, like full time hours. Okay, full time teaching for me is 25 hours a week. But I was working
Mama,
throughout the day instead of doing Chinese
Mama.
hours. But because Chinese hours tend to work for me best, that is what I'm currently doing is working with mostly Chinese students.
Okay, okay. And how do you set your pay, or do the companies you work for set the pay for you?
I don't work for companies that will set my pay. Um, I absolutely will not work for. Okay, so for example, I am a teacher on Cambly. I'll use them as an example. Um, and occasionally I'll be like, hey, I'm bored. I'm going to go do some priority hours. And then I see what I get paid afterwards. I was like, that was the biggest waste of time. And like, I cannot, like, I can't sit through and like do more than one priority hour with Cambly at a time because I just look at the pay and I'm like, that was so not worth it. And I hate free talk lessons. I hate them.
Oh,
Um,
isn't Camly like seven? Is it seven or is it six for a class?
I don't know.
I can't remember.
It ends up it ends up feeling like I'm making like $4 an hour. Like
Oh,
I don't know what it is, but it feels I know it's a good thing. A lot of people like Cambly and a lot of people like the priority hours. The Cambly kids is a little bit more, and I have to go back and look, but um I think it's $10 an hour. Um
more than I thought.
$10.20. But it feels so low. And you also have to take into consideration when you're setting your lessons, take into consideration um, taxes. So a good rule of thumb is to include 30% of your income should be, and I'm not, this is not tax advice, okay? So do not, nobody should take
Yeah.
this as tax advice. I'm not a tax professional, but what was told to me and what I do is a good rule of thumb is take at least 30% right off the top and set it aside so that you can pay your quarterly taxes. That's for in America and other states or other countries, I'm sorry. You might want to do something similar, but so that's what
30%
I
it's a
like to
good
do.
rule
So
of thumb for most people, unless you're somehow making
yeah.
really, 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 really good money.
Yeah, well, if you're making really, really, really good money, then just put aside more than that and save it anyways. One thing that I like to do, and this is how I saved up to buy my house, and do a lot of things that I've done, is I will actually take 50% of my income. So out of every single dollar that I make, 50% of it goes into a savings account. Um,
Wow.
so if you can start doing that, if you could start doing that and you can live off of that, um, then it really helps out because you'll have a big chunk of savings and then quarterly taxes comes and you take that out. I put it into a money market account with that has a little bit more interest. You're allowed to withdraw from it. So I think like 6 times a year, you can withdraw from it. So you can withdraw for your quarterly taxes and then you get a little bit more interest from it. That's what I personally do. And there's some other tricks to make your money. I'm not gonna go into it like super big, but depending on what your goals are, you're going to want to set your income based on what your goals are. So, and remember that it's also going to snowball. So when you start, you're not going to be making a lot of money. because you don't have a lot of students. And this goes for whether you are independent or working for a company. And you just have to, every single student that you get, every new student that you get, you teach them like they're paying you $100 million, even if it's a free trial that you're doing or whatever you're doing, whatever your procedure is. You treat them like they just, paid off your car payment, because it takes one good student that's going to become a lifelong student, one good student that really loves you, that can refer another student, that can, buy more packages, enroll more classes. So you just treat every student like gold.
Yeah, definitely. You give them your 110%, and yeah, you get referrals. They keep coming back for more. I mean, that's how, like, some people, like, you probably have students that have been with you for years. So
Hmm. Yeah.
I was talking to somebody the other day, and they've had somebody with them for 30, no, 10 years now. That same student's been with them.
Oh my
They're
goodness, that's
they're
awesome.
yep, they're now 16 years old, and they started when they were 6 years old with them.
So cute. I love it. That's so cute. Oh, excuse me.
Yeah.
Yeah, but when you're setting your prices, keep that in mind. So, like, for example, I think Cambly is like $10.20, I think, and I could be wrong, but say it's like $10. You take out that 30%, you are making $7 an hour, which is, for where I live in New York State, that's like less than half of minimum wage, or about half of minimum wage. Do you really think that you're worth half of what the minimum wage standard is? Is that what you think you're worth? Um, if you're a good teacher, you're definitely worth more than minimum wage. So just keep that in mind when you're setting your prices, and really know and understand and validate to yourself that you're worth it, so that that comes across when you start, pitching your prices to potential students.
So what's on your mental spreadsheet of your value? Like, what do you provide that you justify how much you charge?
For me personally,
For you personally, yeah.
okay. Well, I've been teaching for what, 4 years. I've been teaching for 4 years, exclusively teaching for 4 years. I've come a long way, but in this time, I've helped a lot of students, and the help that I've been able to give to students, I've been able to take students who have not been able to do basic things. I'll give you an example. I have one student who is 9 years old. She is a native English speaker. Okay. So English is her first language. She cannot read. She cannot read, like, the word on, she will read as no. She's not dyslexic, but just very, very, very basic words. She struggles with them. Um, just because nobody has taught her in the way that works for her. And her parents have been trying and trying and trying to get her to read. I started a reading course with her, and we added in a lot of songs and a lot of extra things. And she was doing better. Then I was able to, and this is the post I was talking about on Facebook today, if you saw that one. But then we added in writing, and she came into class, and I said, okay, we are going to write today. Do you have paper and pencil? And she's like, no, I don't. And I was teaching on koala teachers, or koala. I'm sorry, that's me. I was teaching on Koala Go. And so I was like, okay, well, you don't have paper and pencil. Let's just type on the screen. The girl had no idea how to use the keyboard and how to type on the screen. I'm like, but we're doing writing today. In one lesson, it took one lesson for her to learn how to find the letters on the keyboard, use punctuation, capitalize the letters. It was a 1 hour long lesson. At the end of the lesson, I opened up a simple sentence beginning reader book, and she was suddenly able to read words that she had never known how to read before. My writing instruction, the way that I teach writing instruction, I differentiate my instruction based on what each individual child needs. And I'm able to really assess what they need and figure it out and get them on a program that is going to help them reach their goals very, very, very quickly through writing exercises.
That's awesome. So yeah, it sounds like you put something really good together for your students in that niche, which is
Hmm.
perfect.
Yeah, and it's cool because you go in, the majority of my students are students who hate writing and they're struggling with I don't focus on ESL students primarily. Right now I am because I'm doing Beijing time hours. Normally I wouldn't, but they're struggling with learning English. I can't even talk. I can't even speak English. Why am I teaching it? But they're struggling with learning the English language. And a lot of my students have never written a word in their lives. Like they don't write in English. When they're learning English, they learn from these slides, and it doesn't help them in the way um, that they want to be helped. And when you add English writing instruction into it, it works out a different part of their brain. And not all teachers can teach writing because a lot of like people will be like, how do you do it? That's my secret. But they're like, how do you teach writing over the computer? I just do. Okay. No, I'm just kidding. But it works out a different part of your brain when you're sitting there and you have to figure out, okay, how do I spell this? How do I do this? Then later on, you can read better because you've exercised that part of your brain. Or um, you go through and you have to write using the correct grammar, and you practice that and you're using the correct grammar through writing, and you're getting, it slows everything down in a new process in their brain, basically, so that the next time they speak, they've learned it through writing. They've written it down. It's used muscle memory to strengthen the memory in their brain. It's really, really cool. But I
Really,
forgot
really
what the
cool.
question is. I love it.
No,
I love
that's
teaching writing. I love it.
that's awesome. So if you're teaching writing, do you have any not time, but do you have any like expertise with using gamification to make writing work for your students?
Yes. Yes, I do. Um, I don't follow a set curriculum for my writing lessons, 99% of the time. I don't like curriculums personally, so the way I do things is a little bit different than most teachers. But I like there is a there one of the ways that I'll use gamification is through wheelofnames.com. And if you go into wheelofnames.com, it's literally like a spinning wheel. So you type in the choices, and um, the spinning wheel will pick something randomly. So, for example, one of the writing exercises that I do, and the kids love this, is we will be working on parts of a story. And I'll ask the students what a character is, and they'll tell me what a character is. Then I'll go into Wheel of Names and I'll be like, okay, shout out characters, random characters, and they'll shout out as many random characters as they can. I type them all in. I spin the wheel. I pick 3. Okay, so now they've got Spider-Man, Elsa, and uh, me. Somehow I always get thrown in there. They like to pick on me. Okay, so Spider-Man, Elsa, and me. And then I'll do it again. I'll be like, okay, what is a setting? Okay, so they'll start shouting out the same thing, right? So now they've got Spider-Man, Elsa, me in an underground cave. Okay, now you got to write a story about it. So that's kind of fun because it takes all these random things. And that's really cool too for the ESL students because it's helping them put together, it's forcing them to put together things in a way that they normally wouldn't. They're not normally going to write about Elsa freezing the teacher and Spider-Man having to come save the teacher from some underground cave, or having to write about a dragon that's eating all the books in the library. Like those aren't things that like they learn, like the book is next to the backpack, and How do I get to the shopping mall? Well, you take a left turn here. Like they learn like those basic things, but they're not learning how to, you know, pull things out of their brain that don't really make sense together and put it together, if that makes sense.
It does. It sounds like Whose Line Is It Anyway meets Madlibs.
It's so much fun. I love my writing lessons. I love them.
That's so cool. And so that's you. So then you work with Allschool. And tell me what are some of the best things about teaching online with Allschool?
So, teaching online with Allschool, so they do take a cut of your pay depending on if you teach on ClassPod or Zoom. So just be aware that they do take a cut of your pay, but they also advertise your lessons. And there are other ways of internally marketing yourself through Allschool. So like based on like how you write out your profile, how you do your intro videos, they can help you get more students and they don't force you to use social media. So for teachers who are completely unfamiliar with social media, and there are a lot of teachers have said like, hey, I just started up my Facebook or got on WeChat just for the sole purpose of getting new students, and I'm having a hard time doing like these basic social media things. It's much easier to get started working for a company like Outschool or Allschool, where they help you get your students. The other cool thing is that it is a marketplace. So people can search, say like they can search for an English lesson, they can search for a Spanish lesson, math lesson, whatever it is. And these lessons will pop up in the search feed, and you could have students that you would have never met them otherwise. Um, and a lot of these students, they will become your biggest fans and they will take all of your classes that fit them, all of your classes. And that's why it's important to have a niche, right? So you have all these different classes for that age group and for that level of whatever you're teaching. And you're going to have like a bunch of students that become your biggest fans and they want to try out all of your lessons and maybe they'll stick with all of them. So there's also some other cool things on there too, where you can add like coupons, and a lot of parents will go looking for coupons for things that they can try, and you can do a coupon for like $2 off a lesson. You're still getting paid, you're getting paid a little bit less. It's not a free trial. um but they can they can pop in and take a lesson. The other thing that's cool about Allschool is it is a Chinese company. So if you are marketing in China, and their support team speaks Chinese. So I've had students who are not Chinese and their parents aren't really a fan of it because the communication isn't that great. But if your students are Chinese, Allschool is absolutely fantastic. Um, and you could do group classes very easily where people will just sign up, and there goes that snowball, right? So maybe you have a group lesson with 6 students and you start with one, and the next week you have two, and the next week you have four, and then a couple weeks later you've got a full booked class and you're making like $100 an hour for your fully booked lessons. It's when your private lessons get like fully booked up, or you don't have any room for more private lessons, Allschool is kind of cool to like refer new students to, because they'll get a free class, you'll get paid the trial for the free class. So like the kid, like, refer a student and you get paid $25. um and you get paid for the class as well, um, because Allschool gives that first class. And you can kind of just add them on to classes that you're already teaching to grow your income, instead of trying to work out like, okay, so I've got like, you know 5 students here and 3 students here, and like, okay, and I've got an hour here, but they want a class here. It's kind of nice to be able to just like have everything in one spot and send people over to it. And I mean, yes, you have to pay like, 25 or 30% of your income, but it's just adding on to lessons that you're already teaching, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
So I like
definitely.
the balance of both of them.
Okay. Yeah, because it sounds like you have your all school for when you need this, you need the little support, and you need their support. You have your freelance stuff for those that are just your stable students. You got that money coming in, you got those relationships. So it sounds like you can use the marketplace and you can use the freelancing at the same time.
Yeah. Yeah, because you could do and you could market all of that too. So you could market your private lessons, you can market your group lessons. You could do private lessons as group lessons too. Um, there is a little bit more that goes into it in doing that. But you can market your private lessons, you can market your all school lessons, and you can market all of it. It depends on what that student needs. Yeah, so when you're teaching with a platform like All School, um, it allows you to balance it out a little bit. So there have been times where I don't have any availability for private students. Like I'm fully booked. I cannot open any other times, but I have all school lessons and I can refer those students instead of turning them down, I can refer them there. Or if they can't pay my private class fees, um, they can go take a class for $8 a week with, a bunch of other all school students, and it costs less for them to get the same kind of instruction. Um, like, yeah, it's kind of a balance and it depends on what you want to do. I like the ability to have that backup there. So when a parent comes to me and they say, well, I want a class that's at like 6 p.m. uh, Beijing time, and um, I look at my schedule and I can't find anything. Like I'm fully booked, but I happen to have some all school classes around that time, a couple days that I can just kind of layer them on with the onto the other students. And group, I have found, and not everybody can do group instruction. It takes, everybody's business is different and everybody has different strengths and weaknesses. But if you can learn how to manage a group lesson, then the kids don't get, well, I say kids because I teach kids, but the students aren't going to get any less of an education if you can successfully do it and you can actually make it work better for you.
Cool. Okay. So then that's all the positives of all school. What are some challenges?
The challenges are you have to decide whether you want to use Zoom or ClassPod. Um, you can
How
choose either. ClassPod. ClassPod is their own app. It's
Ah,
really cool, but I'm not 100% a fan of ClassPod. It's great for some things. It's not great for other things. So typing on the screen is not something that they can do. Um, so if you're teaching any kind of writing where you want to see their writing or you want them to type on the screen, they can't do that. Um, the ClassPod, if you choose to use ClassPod over Zoom, you are paid a little bit more, so you keep more of your pay than if you use Zoom. Um, their support team is not always on, so if you end up teaching American students or students in a different time zone than China, you might not get an immediate response. Um, Other things with All School. Uh, Oh, they're pretty good. Like I've never had an issue with pay except for we did have pay late because they were using that bank in California
oh, the
that had all those,
Silicon Bank,
yeah.
Silicon Valley? Really?
So they were using that, so they had to figure something out like last minute when that happened. So that week we did get paid late. But I've never really had any issues with pay. Um my disadvantages, uh you're if you want to teach a high ticket um independent lessons, there's really not much of a market there for you. So if you wanted to go and you wanted to teach like $30 one-on-one lessons, I guess that's not really high ticket, but it's, it's in that like medium price range, right? So you want to teach like $30 for a one-on-one lesson. Um, you're not going to have as much of a market on Allschool as if you were to teach, $10 group lessons, because the people that are going to Allschool are typically taking a bunch. They don't have like that one primary teacher that they're like dishing a lot of money out to. So if you're looking for group lessons, Allschool is better than if you're looking for like one-on-one lessons. Um, yeah,
Sounds to me, it sounds to me like all school is really good for teachers who want to teach group lessons. Like people who want to can make a lot of money if they're capable of teaching group lessons.
yes.
Um, so how would you suggest, like me, I've never taught a group lesson. I helped teachers out in physical classrooms when my kid was in that first grade kindergarten, but I've never taught group lessons. I'm a one-on-one teacher. If I wanted to go into group lessons, what advice would you give me to build those skills up before I started doing it?
Okay, so the first thing that you need to do every single group lesson is individually say hi to every single student. So it doesn't matter what age you're teaching, it doesn't matter what skill you're teaching. You need to make sure that you individually like, hi, hi Jacob, how are you today? Good. Um how was your holiday? How was your weekend? If you're teaching preschool, it might be like, hi, Jimmy. How are you? I'm happy. Okay, what's your favorite animal? Right? And go on to the next student. Really quick, give every single student a chance to talk and listen. Because otherwise, if you don't do this and you miss a student, or a student comes in late and you forget to do this and you just keep going with your lesson, you're going to end up like at some point in the middle of the lesson finding out that somebody can't hear you or you can't hear them or they're having some sort of problem. So the first thing that you want to make sure you do is have a small, it only has to be like 10 seconds with every single student, because that way you can immediately fix and address any technology issues that they're having. That's probably like the number one thing. Um, make sure that you Make sure that you give every kid a chance to work to their ability. So when you go in, this is where it's called differentiated instruction. So you're going to have a group of students, and they're not all going to be on the same level, and they're not all going to be, capable of the same thing at where they're at, right? So, for example, I might have a writing lesson, and this happens all the time. I'll have a writing lesson where I have a 6-year-old that comes in, and they can speak English, but they can't write at all. And then I have somebody who can write like pages, okay? And I have to teach a writing lesson to both of these kids at the same time. So I make sure that I really hone in on their ability and do something for them specifically. So, for example, the 6-year-old might be at the point where um, they're learning how to write letters, but they can't write stories yet. So, they can't write stories yet. They can write letters and they can copy letters. So maybe I'll write on the screen for that student. Where my student that is writing pages, I help them brainstorm, and they're on their own for the majority of the lesson, and I just check in with them. And so you, depending on what you have to do, and writing's a lot different than if you're doing like slides or anything like that. Say you're doing slides, like there's a lot of slides out there. You're using A Bridge Academy, okay? That's one of the things that you could use. It's like slides that are set up to be like VIP kid if you're used to that. And you have two kids of different levels. And you might ask one kid those extending questions, right? So you might ask one of the students, what color is this? And the other student, you might ask, can you name something that is the color blue? So see how they're working on like different levels, you're doing the same thing. So you just have to make sure that you can um, build those skills of being able to quickly assess where that student is and challenge them, um, give them each time. And another really quick trick for group lessons, if you have a really strong student in the class, um, then instead of, and you could do this with your students that aren't as strong too. It actually helps motivate them, but give them time to be the teacher. So after you learn something, um, say, okay, who wants to be the teacher? Okay, so we'll go over to teacher Danny. Danny, can you teach us what an adjective is, right? So, now you've got the students that are teaching each other, and it's helping them because when you teach something, you learn it better, right? So, I
You're
mean, those are
calling
some
on them, but
I
yeah,
could go
yeah.
on.
I
Those
love
are some,
those ideas. Yeah. I've seen a lot of those techniques done in some of my son's group classes and things like that as well. So, but it's interesting to see that as a strategy. So that's really cool. Is there any tips for applying to all school that you might have?
not really. It's pretty simple. So, if you are familiar with the Outschool process, um, they're very picky. You have to like word things in a certain way. And if anybody needs help with Outschool, please let me know because I'm more than willing to help you. The application process is a little tricky with them. Um, but with Allschool, it's pretty cut and dry. Um, just they just want to see that you could be a good teacher. Um, you don't have to have any certifications or licenses or anything like that. You have to either be from or reside in that like magical six of the country. So United States, Canada, New Zealand, Australia, UK, Ireland. Like those
Mhm.
six that everybody seems to hire from. So you don't have to be from there, but you have to either be from or live there. So one of the two.
Okay.
Um, and uh, you are going to have to speak English because everything is, all the communication is in English. So, um, yeah, there are really no tips. Just go in there and show what you could do. I haven't seen a lot of people get denied from Allschool that met the basic requirements. The most of the people that I've seen get denied for Allschool have been from the wrong location. Um,
Location. All
yeah,
school's all about the
I have
location.
seen. Yeah, when I first started working for Allschool, they added me into a, what's that called? WhatsApp? WhatsApp group?
Yeah, what's that? Yeah.
Yeah, where they put all of their recruits that they were getting from they put all their recruits that they were getting from their like what are the job boards that they have? I can't
Mhm.
even think right now. But like all those like online job boards, they had posts up there and they put all of their recruits in there. And I did see some people get denied there that really were just looking for work and had no clue how to teach online. They had no idea what they were doing. And Allschool just said like, hey, learn, get some practice, learn a little bit about how to teach and then come back and apply in like another 6 months if you're still interested. But if you've got experience teaching, um, then you're gonna get in.
Awesome. Okay. What about while traveling? Have you ever traveled while teaching with all school?
I'm
Yeah.
not the person to talk about traveling. I've got goats and donkeys and cows, and I don't do that.
Because if they're location specific, they don't care where you are, just where you come from.
One or the
Is that right?
other.
Okay.
So yeah, so okay, so say you live in the Philippines,
Mhm.
but you are from America and you just moved to the Philippines, right? Um, Or Vietnam. I feel like a lot of teachers, a lot of like nomadic ESL teachers go and live in Vietnam. That's probably a better example. So you go and live in you and go and live in Vietnam. If you try to get a job as a teacher from Vietnam, you're not going to get hired anywhere. But you can put, the United States is where you're from because it's where you're from. Even though you're not there right now, they'll still hire you. And on the same effect, if you are from Vietnam, but you move to America, you can put America there and they will hire you because you're an American teacher. So they consider you to be from that country, even if you're living somewhere else or even if you moved into that country. And I
That's
think I do believe it has something to do with like the background check that they use, that requires that too.
Well, then that kind of brings us to the end, the wrap up here. Do you have any kind of a special promotion or anything that you want to talk about today?
So if anybody is looking for help going independent or really looking to just get to that next step of their online teaching career, whether it's independent. I really like helping teachers go independent, but whether it's independent or working with a company or anything like that, if anybody's looking to reach that new goal of theirs, then I do free strategy calls. Um, if I will give you the link that you can post to sign up for a strategy call. They are limited because they are free. So, they are limited as to when they can, you might have to come back and check if there's nothing open, come back and check in a week. Because I only open them up a week at a time. But we can go through, talk about what you are looking to do in your business, where you're looking to grow, and see if we can figure out something that's going to work for your specific situation.
Excellent. We'll have that linked down below for everybody who's interested on that. Um, yeah, so that's excellent. Thank you very much, Jillian. You've been inspiring. You've got an interesting story. You've got a
Thank you.
lot of knowledge, a lot of knowledge. And for those out there, Jillian's group on Facebook is a great resource as well. If you ever need to, if you want to join that group, you can find a lot of really good information. Not only does she share in there, but there's a lot of other participants, a lot of interaction going on there. I think, like she said, 25,000 members right now. So, uh, yeah. Any parting advice, Jillian?
Two things. There's two big things here. The first thing is that you need to be ready to adjust and pivot and adapt. This is not a career choice, a career path, a job that you can take where you go in there and you could do the same thing for the next 10 years. It is very technology driven and technology based, as well as educational based. And in both of those things change over time. An example would be the Chinese double reduction policy. So you need to be prepared, um, or just accepting and open to change because things are going to change. They might change day to day, they might change month to month, they might change year to year. But what is going on right now is not going to be the exact same thing that's 2 years from now. So if this is your long-term plan and it's something that you're serious about, you need to be accepting to change. You need to be open to listening to, to coaching and mentoring, whether it be a paid program or through YouTube or whatever. You need to be focused on adapting, changing, growing, and like growing with the industry. And the second thing is don't give up. This is a snowball effect. The first thing that you do might not work. The first class that you post might not work. The first thing that you try might not work. But I promise you that if you don't give up, it's going to work. The only way it's not going to work is if you stop working it. So those are my parting words.
Excellent parting words. So you heard it here. Don't be afraid of change. Be adaptable and don't give up on yourself. I love it. Well, thank you very much, Jillian. It's been a pleasure talking to you today. I'm sure you're going to have some people reaching out to you really soon. And for those of you out there, again, look down below. there'll be some information on how to get in touch with Jillian and follow Jillian and her groups. Thank you very much, everybody, and take care.
Thank you, David. Bye, guys.
Hey there, fellow teachers and digital nomads. We're thrilled to have you here soaking up the wisdom from our videos featuring your peers. But hey, we're not just here to entertain you. We want to hear from you. Got a burning topic that you want us to cover? Or maybe you got an awesome story, an intriguing insight you want to share with your peers? Well, don't be shy. Shoot us an email at contact@thetutorresource.com or drop us a message on Facebook. Your voice matters, and we want to amplify it in our awesome community. Thanks again for watching, and remember to like, subscribe, and smash that notification bell to be alerted when new videos are published. Take care.